Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. And thank you, Madam Secretary. Good to see you again. So as a new fresh face, I am, like, getting to your point, I really do struggle with the fact that we're here before session having this conversation regarding a new revenue stream, where while I think we should be having a larger conversation in session regarding structural fiscal reform. And in many ways, I do analogize this to the income tax, which was put in place to solve a fiscal crisis, but just led to unfettered kind of government spending. And I really do see an analogy here. And a lot of the concern from me, and I think a lot of my constituents, comes from the fact that we see this trucks only proposal as the first step that's going to lead to cars. So one question I have is, why is the toll revenue pledge in Section 9 necessary if this is only a truck toll revenue that is anticipated?
So through you, Mr. Chair, first of all, Representative Farnen, welcome. We're glad to have fresh energy to address this issue. You're asking about Section 9 that says no agreement entered into by DOT for a loan or other financial assistance may contain a provision pledging tolling revenue. It's trying to protect the revenue so that it's not used for other purposes. So that is the intent of Section 9, is trying to give an additional assurance that the revenues will be used for their intent, if you will.
Okay. Thank you. I was somewhat concerned with the other toll revenue collected from large commercial trucks, with that specific carve out. Secondly, one thing that my esteemed colleague, Representative Steinberg, mentioned before was this 3/5 member approval requirement. But through you, Mr. Chair, couldn't that 3/5 member requirement be changed at any later date through a simple majority?
Thank you for the question. Feel free to address this. If you'd rather transfer to me, I can do that as well.
Any provision of the Connecticut General Statutes is subject to modification. This is specifically speaking to the bond covenant, however, and it's going to look back at this language, and that is going to say 3/5 vote. So I don't believe there will be a way around it, and it's not a mechanism that is commonly utilized. So my position is that it is a pretty secure feature to discourage ever needing to tap into this particular language, but in addition, being able to satisfy and make adequate provision for $5, $6, $7 billion of debt is something that I don't think the state would ever be able to do.
Understood. And then lastly, has the state done any studies on congestion with secondary roads with tolls for trucks and cars, or either or?
First off, part of everything we were looking at in the beginning of the year was the fact of what we would be able to do in terms of traffic mitigation. So, for example, one of the things you see in here is the fact that we've looked at prior plans where they had looked at putting in an additional lane all the way down 95. The expense of it was extraordinary. We found that instead, if we were to add 6 miles before the Route 8 interchange and put a double lane exit on 8, we can get rid of that entire traffic congestion and save people 22 minutes a day in terms of travel time just by going and doing that. So when you turn around and say to me, have we looked at where are our congestion and our traffic mitigation? Yes, we have looked at that. And yes, when we were looking at a combination of car and truck, we were also looking at the same way we wanted to have language that allowed for us to place those toll gantries in a way that it would not encourage, and they use the word diversion, that it would not encourage diversion. The other things we would be looking at on that end as well is, could we not turn around, and especially now that we're looking to go and centralize all of our traffic signal systems, there are other methods to go and discourage diversion from happening. Go ahead.